You're tuned into BuildHer Media. We are all about economic empowerment, bringing you interviews from amazing women of color worldwide who defied the odds, beat statistics, and became successful founders, creators, and entrepreneurs. Be sure to follow us, subscribe, and hit the like button on all our social media. Go to buildher.co.uk, the ultimate online space for girls and women of Black origin. We are sisters moving forward. We'll be joined by Klancy Miller, the brains and beauty behind the magazine called For the Culture. Thank you so much for joining me, Klancy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So, okay, where do we start from? First of all, I came across your magazine For the Culture. This must have been, my God, this must have been about maybe January, or when did it
That
end?
sounds right.
Yeah.
So I launched the crowdfunding campaign in December, and it went through February 2nd or February 3rd. So I was posting like a mad woman all of December and January.
That's amazing. So for those who don't know yet, can you just tell us a bit about what is For the Culture?
Okay, so For the Culture is a magazine celebrating Black women in food and wine. And specifically, the tagline is For the Culture, a magazine celebrating Black women in food and wine. And the goal is to tell Black women's stories throughout the diaspora who work in some form within the food and beverage world. So that includes chefs, pastry chefs, bakers, food writers, farmers, sommeliers, bartenders, everybody who plays some kind of role in the food system. And the goal is for it to also have an international scope. I'm based in New York in the US, so I definitely want to, shine light on Black women here, but I also I consider myself a citizen of the world. And I think it's really important to see what Black women throughout the diaspora, throughout the world are doing in food too.
Amazing. And what was the inspiration behind this? What started it?
Part of it is, there layers. So part of it is just, I write about food, and there have been story ideas that I have tried to pitch or wanted to pitch, and about Black women in food. And sometimes I wanted to write stories about people who aren't famous or who don't have a new restaurant. And it's kind of harder to find a platform for those stories. And I feel like, so there's that. And then also, I trained to become a pastry chef before I started writing about food. And most of the people who were my role models, if I'm being honest, were not Black, because I didn't know about that many Black people, period. Men, women, all gender. I didn't know about any. I knew I had maybe 3 Black role models. And over the years, I've met so many people in food. A few years ago, I wrote a cookbook called Cooking Solo, and that kind of helped open doors for me, and it helped me to meet a lot of people, including a lot of Black women food writers. And the more that I'm in the food space, the more I see amazing, incredible people of color, and specifically Black women doing incredible things. And I just feel like we deserve to have our stories told by us.
I love that. You basically already answered my next question, which was why was this necessary? And you've also touched on who is this for. So obviously your main audience, if you like, is Black women, but would you say the magazine is for anyone?
Absolutely. I feel like all are welcome. I'm a big fan of kind of traditional legacy mainstream media. I have grown up reading the New York Times food section, reading you know, when it used to exist, Gourmet Magazine, I love food media. So I feel like
have that in common.
yeah, so I feel like even though up until recently, I feel like a lot of mainstream media outlets haven't necessarily catered to me, I've been interested. So I feel like this magazine, For the Culture, all are welcome. Everybody is welcome to purchase a copy, to read it, to share it. But my focus is on Black women.
Mm-hmm. And when and how did you first hear about crowdfunding? So before you even decided to, do your own campaign or anything like that, when did you first hear about crowdfunding?
I have a couple of friends who are filmmakers. So I have one friend who crowdfunded at least one film of his, if not a couple. So that was probably my first introduction to crowdfunding. I have a friend this friend crowdfunded on Kickstarter. I actually have a friend who started his own independent food magazine. His magazine is wonderful. It's called Whetstone, and he did crowdfunding, and I contributed to that. So I had a couple of examples, and actually more than a couple, but people I knew personally who were crowdfunding. And yeah, I'm a fan of crowdfunding. I think it's smart.
Yeah, definitely is a smart way to go to make something a reality that maybe would not otherwise have, become reality. So
yeah,
from you deciding to use this as your vehicle to raise the money that you needed, to actually having your campaign go live, how long was that process? Like, how long did everything take?
So I think I decided I didn't do actually that much planning. I mean, I did it was one of those things where I realized if I don't do this, because it was an idea I'd had for a couple of years, and I just realized if I don't do this, I'm not going to do this. I need to do this. And so I kind of just put together my little checklist based upon the platform that I used, in terms of, they say have a video. And so I have a friend who's a brilliant photographer and filmmaker. So I reached out to her to do the video. I was in contact, thanks to a potential contributor, with a graphic designer to kind of help me to create a logo. So I would say maybe the build up planning wise, just to create the material, to create the assets, maybe that was about a month, 2 months. There was a photograph. The mock cover has a photograph of Edna Lewis, who was an amazing chef and cookbook author and huge role model and leader in American cuisine, or specifically from the South. In any case, she's such a role model to so many people, specifically in the US, that I wanted to use an image of her. So the thing that did kind of take a long time is I found the perfect image of her, or perfect for the way I wanted to use it. And I needed to get permission from the photographer to use it. And it took a little bit of time to track him down to get his permission. So yeah, I would say somewhere between like a month and a half ish.
Okay. So less than 2 months, basically, altogether.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, it's a little bit of a blur, but I feel like that was probably it. Maybe 2 months. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's still really, really fast, which goes to show you don't have to spend, so much time on it. You don't have to spend like 6 months or a year to get your campaign out there. You can do it quite fast.
Yeah, I think especially if it's something you've been thinking about for a while. I had, how sometimes you'll jot down notes or ideas. So I had jotted down a lot of things. So it was pretty, I'm not going to say easy, but between all my little random notes here and there that I had written about the project, I was able to kind of describe it fairly well so that it would translate well to the crowdfunding platform.
Amazing. And you touched on the video. So how important do you think a video is for any campaign. I mean, yours was amazing, I have to say. It was definitely what I connected with when I came across your campaign. I thought the video was brilliant. It explained exactly what you were trying to do. The graphics was, the graphics were really, really clear, crisp. I loved the mock cover that you did. So yours is like best examples of a video, to be honest. But how important is a video for a campaign, do you think?
I do think it's important. I'll be honest at first, because sometimes, I shouldn't say this, but sometimes I really shouldn't say this, but sometimes I like to think like, what is the minimum I can do? Like, do I really need a video? Because I was thinking in terms of me, what I have responded to. And honestly, when I've given to crowdfunding campaigns, mainly the only ones I've given to are to people I know personally. So I'm giving because I know the person. But then if you think about the fact that the goal of a crowdfunding campaign is to connect both to people you know and to people you don't know. Mm-hmm. And the best way to connect to people you don't know is to introduce yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think a video is really important in that way, because unless you know personally, like, I don't know, 10,000 people who you know are going to give you money, you need to be able to introduce yourself. You need to clearly, of course, a platform is going to allow you to write about the project in some detail, but there needs to be more of a personal appeal, and people should know who they're giving to. You know what I mean? There should be a story. So I feel like an introduction, a narrative, and motivation are important to give. And actually, it turns out a video is the easiest way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you, when you've completed everything you needed to, make your campaign live, how did you go about marketing and promoting your campaign?
So what did I do? Well, the campaign went live. I posted about it a lot on Instagram. I didn't really post about it much on Facebook until literally maybe I posted about it when it first went up. And then so it was basically a 60-day campaign. I would say within the past maybe last 48 hours of the campaign, I may have posted on Facebook, but mostly I was posting to Instagram constantly. I posted to Twitter a little bit. As far as social media goes, Instagram is my preferred platform. Here's the thing, I have written a cookbook before. And so I went through the process of marketing that cookbook and following suggestions from my publisher. And so I kind of learned from that process of marketing my cookbook, and I also learned from some of the mistakes I made marketing my cookbook and realizing like things that I didn't do that I would do if I had it all to do it over again. And so I used some of those same strategies for marketing this crowdfunding campaign. And so when you write a book, or probably when you create any product, you want to have kind of a dream list of people or entities who you would like to speak about your product or whatever it is that you're putting out into the world. So I basically just made a list of a whole bunch of friends and acquaintances who have a really large following and asked them if they would post about it and spread the word. So, but most of it was done via Instagram.
Amazing. And did you first of all get your family and friends to kind of contribute? Because I know that's the advice that is sometimes given, to kind of, have your friends and family to kind of pad up that first $1,000 or so that by the time it reaches strangers, people who may not know you, it doesn't look, it looks less scammy.
Oh, right. Yeah. I actually didn't do that. I honestly, I feel like this campaign was miraculous in some ways, even though I worked really hard for it to be successful, and a lot of people were extremely generous, and that's why it was successful. I posted it on Instagram and it got a huge response. Within the first 24 hours, I think I had raised $5,000 without, and I honestly, all I did was, I don't want to say all I did, but the thing I did, I did not ask my family to give first. I did not ask my friends to give first. Wow. What I did was, I think I either created one email or two before I posted to Instagram, and I basically explained the campaign. I made the ask that they, send this email to their circle, and also that they post about it. And then on Instagram, the next day I posted about it or the next morning I posted about it on Instagram. It got a huge response. A lot of the friends with huge followings who I asked to, post about it did. And yeah, I mean, I think within the first day, somebody gave an outright gift of $1,000, which was huge. Wow. And a person I didn't know. I didn't know this person.
Wow.
So yeah, I think it's smart probably to ask your friends and family first for money, but I think the most important thing is to set it up right. Set yourself up for success. Put an ask out to friends and family. Think of any and everyone who has a very large circle, and ask for them to spread the word, because that's just as valuable as a gift.
Absolutely.
Of money.
Absolutely. Did you find that person who gave you $1,000? Did you find the stranger?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. His story was amazing. His story was so inspiring. He had been, because I just assumed, it must be somebody who works in finance who can give $1,000 to a stranger.
Yeah.
And I was super grateful, but that's just the story that I made up. And I reached out to him to thank him immediately. And he told me that he had been saving $1 a day for, I guess, 1,000 days or something like that. And he just put it in a shoebox and decided that he was going to give this sum to a worthy cause or project. And he decided that this was the worthy project. And I just thought, which actually was 1,000 times more touching than this being, an ultra affluent person to whom money is no object. It actually put the pressure on me more, like, oh my gosh, somebody other than me thinks this is really special.
Yeah, so you have to successful now. Yeah. You have no choice.
Yeah, I have to make this extra special. Yeah.
That's really, really, that's an amazing story. That really is. So in terms of, the story behind for the culture, what would you say to some people who may say some sort of exclusivity is, might be a negative thing? What would you say in response to that?
I actually think exclusivity can be an advantage because it's very clear focus, For the culture is absolutely for everyone. It is specifically for Black women, by Black women. By that, I mean, my goal is for all the contributors to be Black women and for all the subjects of the pieces to be Black women. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it if you're not a Black woman. You know what I mean? So I think it's really, I don't know. I think it's good to have a very clear point of view. And it's not like a hateful point of view. You know what I mean? It's not a point of view that doesn't embrace other people. It's a point of view that is specifically celebrating Black women.
Absolutely. That is a fantastic response. And I second everything you said. And what advice would you give to someone who, maybe a woman who's watching this video now and is considering using crowdfunding as her tool, her vehicle to, raise funding for something that she has been dreaming to do, but she's nervous, she's scared, she's unsure? What one piece of advice would you give to that woman?
I would say do it, because honestly, I think I hinted at this earlier in our conversation, this was an idea that I had. And had I not just said to myself, just do it, I wouldn't have. I mean, I'm sure I can speak for myself. I have ideas that I haven't acted on, that I've just had, and I just let them sit there. And that's okay. But I think if you have something you want to do, do it. If anything, this moment that we're living through right now with this pandemic is one of the many, many lessons is, if there's something you want to do it. Don't put it off. Mm-hmm. We have no idea what the future holds. So if you are in a place where you have the fortitude and the energy to pursue an idea, definitely do it. The other thing I would say about crowdfunding, or specifically something that helped me be successful with this crowdfunding, was definitely the support of friends and strangers posting about it. But I also will say within the last, I'm going to say week or 2 weeks of the campaign, because there was a plateau period, and I can't remember what the amount was, but I wasn't sad about it, but I was also trying to figure out, how am I going to move past this plateau? And a friend of mine who is an organizer and fundraiser reached out, and he basically for easily the last 2 weeks, but definitely the last week, coached me, and every day was saying, you know what, today you have to reach out to 20 people, and you have to reach out to them, you have to make an ask, you have to give them very clear instructions, and you have to reach out to your people, reach out to your family, reach out to your friends, reach out to the people who you know will support you. And if they've already given, ask them to give again. And so he literally was coaching me within the last 24 hours of the campaign, coaching me hardcore, like literally checking in on almost an hourly basis. And that push was really important, because what I learned is that you actually do constantly have to reach out to people. If you're really lucky, maybe you'll make all your goal in one, 24 hour or 1 week period. But it's more likely that it's going to take time, even if you're doing a 30-day campaign. I did a 60-day campaign, but that final push was huge. And the fact that I had a friend coaching me and literally pushing me every hour, okay, reach out to another 10 people, do a post on Facebook, ask these people, so that definitely got me over.
Amazing. Is your friend available to be hired as a coach? He sounds like definitely invaluable. So yeah, you're very lucky with that. So with BuildHer is a crowdfunding platform that is catered towards women of Black origin who want to, start their businesses or projects or ideas, whatever it may be. This is a platform for us and by us. Why do you think a platform like BuildHer is necessary?
I think it's great. I feel, well, as I was saying, in terms of the specificity for the culture, I think anytime you have a very clear perspective and you have a very clear focus, that's actually very supportive for whatever your project is. So I think there were definitely a lot of men who gave to my project, but I think it's really important to reach out for support within your own community from your own people. And it's also really heartening to see how Black women support one another. To me, I already knew that, but this whole process underscored that for me in a huge way. And so given what I witnessed, I feel like a community of Black women supporting Black women, publicizing Black women's crowdfunding projects, I think that is definitely an equation for success.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And where can we find For the Culture and everything else that you're doing at the moment? Where can people find you?
Okay, so For the Culture's website is fortheculturefoodmag.com, and the Instagram handle is For the Culture Food Mag. That's it. Yeah. And the best, if for people, if anybody has a cool story idea or wants to contribute, again, the best way to do that is via the website. And social media wise, Instagram is the preferred mode.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, you totally would have gone with BuildHer if we had launched.
Yes, absolutely. For sure. Yeah. I mean, there are more projects to come. So I'm happy that BuildHer is out, and I'm also happy to let other people know about it too, because I think it's super cool. I think we have to support each other, and we do a lot. There are a lot of, I feel like you learn about strength in numbers in a new way when you do crowdfunding. And so I feel like, you're onto something.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Klancy. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. And congratulations again for raising over $30,000, £30,000. It equates to like a big amount, whichever country you're in.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.